Boom, ever onward tribe. I was talking to one of my college teammates the other day when I played lacrosse back in Syracuse, and we were talking. The team was having a real good year this year. They fell a little short of championship weekend, but we were kind of reminiscent of our days there. And a story came up that he and I were both a part of, and it kind of reminded me. I've told this before, but I can't remember what context. I wanted to share it today because it was a real impactful, moment or sort of teaching point in my life. When I showed up at Syracuse, I was kind of the first kid to come from, I grew up in California, so I was one of the first kids to come from anywhere near that far west to one of the true blue blood top programs in the country. A couple kids had played at Division I programs and had great success, great players. That's not meant to come from an egotistical place. I just really was one of the first kids to play at one of the true heavyweights, Syracuse, Virginia, Hopkins, Princeton, in that era of lacrosse. And we were in the hunt for the national championship every year I was there. But when I showed up, I knew that I don't think I was under talented, but I was under experienced to play at that level. I'd only played lacrosse for 3 years. I picked up a stick when I was a sophomore in high school, but I was big and fast, and the coach, liked me. And my coach is truly one of the legends. I mean, I played for a coach by the name of Roy Simmons Jr. He played lacrosse at Syracuse under his father. One of his teammates was Jim Brown, the great Jim Brown from football fame, and also a lacrosse Hall of Famer as well. And so the Hall of Fame was built in many ways on my coach. He's one of the all-time great. It'd be like playing for Saban or Coach K, in the modern era. That's how special a person I got to play for, really at the end of his career. But when I showed up, as I said, I knew I wasn't going to dazzle somebody with talent and the amount of reps I had. So it occurred to me, and I think this comes from my dad and my brother, that we really value discipline and hard work, is that if nothing else, I can work harder than anybody here. I can run harder than anybody here. And eventually I'll crack the starting lineup. And I ended up a captain and a leader, and all those good things were offered up because of that hard work. But my freshman year, I knew it was going to be a grind. So one of the things I loved about athletics, and one of the phases of a sport team coming together and getting ready for a season, are those preseason or early workouts where it's basically just misery, right? Running sprints, and then in those days we called them suicides, out and backs, probably not politically correct anymore, but just horrific level of running. And I remember our coach, when we get to an end of a practice and we'd start running, they would put garbage cans around the AstroTurf. He's like, don't throw up on my AstroTurf if that's going to happen. So get off to the side. It was rugged. It was the real thing. And some of the best athletes in the country are there. So you're not running against wilting flowers next to you. You're running against thoroughbreds. So I just knew that was a place I could shine. I like to suffer. I like to go hard. I've got a pretty good gas tank and heart to pump the blood through my veins. So I knew I could put out and get it done. So I went hard in every sprint. And I'd say if you asked anybody in that era, and actually for the 4 years that I played there weren't a handful of sprints anyone beat me at ever. I mean, from sprint one, if we were doing that for 15, 20 minutes, I was going to be winning the wave I was running in. And halfway through to the end, you had no chance against me. That's when now your legs are wobbly. You're starting to hit your max VO2. Lactic acid is building up. That's my dream scenario. So I just ran hard all the time. So we work our fall season and then our early spring season. And here we come to the first game of the actual official season of my freshman year. We are the number 1 ranked team in the country. North Carolina, the Tar Heels, are the number 2 ranked team in the country, and we're going down to Chapel Hill to play the Heels on the opening game of the season. So unbelievable 1 versus 2 matchup to start the season. We fly down or drive down, I can't remember, down to North Carolina. We're doing a practice on Friday before we play Saturday morning to start the season. These games count, it's on. And I remember we're in practice, and I could tell Coach was upset. I mean, we were loose, which our team was known for, but it was a little bit of kind of grab ass and too much like distraction. And I could tell he was irritated, and he got irritated to the point that he's like, all right, that's it. Everybody on the end line. So everybody runs the end line. That means you're going to start running sprints. Now we're fit. We're ready. It's game time. We're in shape season, or at least as close you're going to get to it until you start playing games. And he starts running sprints. I think everybody just said, look, we're playing the first game of the season. It's not going to last this long, but about 8 minutes in, I could tell the assistant coach was like, we might want to take a wrap off here, but we're running hard to the point where people can't believe how hard it's going. I'm running absolutely max out because I'm pretty sure I'm not playing, the next day as a freshman on that team. But I remember the coaches kind of confer, and you can tell it's going to end, but coach wasn't done. He's like, all right, this is what we're going to do. Everybody's going to be on the end line. I'm going to go stand at the midline. When I blow the whistle, there's no defense usually ran together, offense or attackmen ran together, midfielders, and so on. He's like, it's not going to be any division. The entire team is going to be on the line. When I blow the whistle, it is a dead sprint race to me at the 50-yard line, which is about a 60-yard sprint because there's room behind the goal and lacrosse. He said the first two guys that come across these sprints get to be done. So I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. If you're in the first two, we'll make sure it's the right people. You go to the locker room and you're done with the day. So now bear in mind, I have won basically every sprint I have won at Syracuse since I've been there, up until that moment. And he starts blowing the whistle, and I end up in the last four. I'm beside myself. I mean, I ran hard, so I probably took some gas out of my legs, but I'm just seething with anger being in this, what I now think is like the last four, in some ways, the weakest players left on the field. He goes to blow the whistle. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be in the last two. So I do come across first on that one. And I come through the midline right next to my coach. I don't know what possessed me, but I take my helmet off, which has the Syracuse S on its side, which is his mantle and his dad's mantle before him. I take my helmet off and I throw it down. I'm so upset. I immediately regret it. I pick that helmet up. I put it back on. I turn around knowing my coach is going to be there, and coach is right there. I mean, directly in my face. Coach's nickname was Slugger. He was a big, powerful man. He had hands like pie plates, thick, strong. His nickname was Slugger when he was in college. Jim Brown told us the only person he didn't want to fight on the Syracuse campus was our coach. And even in his 70s, he's an intimidating man. But I remember he's standing right there, and I put my helmet back on, but I was like, I'm sorry, coach. I didn't mean to throw my helmet. I hope I don't play for North Carolina now. And he kind of had a smile on his face. He said, hey, don't think for a second it is lost on us that you run hard all the time. It's obvious if you were the only person out here, you'd be running hard. That's who you are. That is not lost on us. Trust us. The only reason, or trust me, the only reason you were in the back today is because those, he had a artful way of saying it, those lesser souls or those men I blew the whistle for, the only reason they ran their max was because they knew the suffering would end. You suffer regardless. You do that in life, you're going to be a captain here, you're going to be an All-American here, and we're going to win championships. All that played out to prove and be true. But it really was one of those anchor point moments when I knew that at least what I was doing with extra effort was being recognized. And frankly, when I got to the SEAL teams and I got through about the beginning of training, when you get through Hell Week, I remember looking around and seeing my teammates out there and being like, oh, everybody here runs hard all the time. The people that are going to do it. This is my peer group. I'll finish this thought up with this, kind of famous or older parable from Africa, but it kind of captures what I want to talk about. And it goes like this. Every morning in Africa, a lion wakes up and it knows that it's going to have to run just a little bit faster than the slowest gazelle or it doesn't get to eat. And the same day, the gazelle wakes up and realizes, I'm going to have to run just a little bit faster than the fastest lion or the lion that's out there, or I'm going to get eaten. The lesson is, it doesn't matter if you're the lion or you're the gazelle. When that sun comes up, you better be running hard. Ever onward.